You know the image, right? Like, for decades, the absolute ultimate suburban flex was having a massive towering tree right in your front yard.
Oh, absolutely. It was the dream.
Right, you get the house, maybe a nice fence, and this gigantic centuries-old oak or maple. And its branches stretch all the way across the street, creating this gorgeous canopy.
Yeah, the classic postcard neighborhood.
Exactly. But if you are listening to this right now and looking out your window at one of those massive giants, you might actually be looking at a ticking time bomb.
That's a great way to put it, honestly.
Because what if planting a giant tree is actually, a terrible idea for the future of our cities?
Well, the paradigm of urban planning is undergoing a massive shift right now. We've all been conditioned to believe that when it comes to nature, especially in a heavily paved environment, bigger is inherently better.
Right, bigger tree, more shade.
Exactly. But the data on urban survival is pointing in the exact opposite direction.
And that is the mission for today's deep dive. I was recently digging through some fascinating research, specifically looking at a massive transformation happening in Montreal.
It's a really incredible case study.
It really is. And we're pulling from publications today like Wikiresidence.ca and Infodrone.ca. Montreal is actively moving away from the massive trees we all grew up with, and they are replacing them with a completely new, strategically engineered urban canopy.
Yeah, it's a total reimagining of the urban forest.
We are talking surprising economics, the hidden biology of roots, and a massive neighborhood mobilization. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So the era of planting massive deciduous trees on private lots is officially a closed chapter.
Yeah, the municipal shift is drastic. We are looking at specific species that are effectively blacklisted from being planted near residential structures anymore.
Wait, really? Blacklisted?
Oh, yeah. The city is completely done with poplars. They are done with ash trees, which, well, they have their own tragic biological story that we can get into.
Right, the whole pest issue.
Exactly. And they are completely rethinking the iconic silver maple.
Let's talk about that silver maple because the numbers here are just wild to me.
Yeah.
A mature silver maple can reach 25 meters in height.
Which is over 80 feet tall. It's massive.
Huge. But Montreal's municipal bylaws now require a strict 15-meter setback from any structure for these trees.
Yeah, 15 meters is a lot of clearance.
Right. If you think about the geometry of an average urban lot, requiring 15 meters of clearance in every single direction basically means you need a 100-foot empty circle just to plant a single sapling.
Which nobody has in a city.
Exactly. You physically cannot put this tree in a normal yard. It's like planting a silver maple in a dense urban lot is essentially like trying to keep a Great Dane in a studio apartment.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. It is absolutely beautiful. You love having it around, but eventually it is going to knock over your refrigerator and destroy the plumbing.
What's fascinating here is the shift from vanity to vulnerability. We used to view these 80-foot trees as indestructible monuments.
Yeah, they look like they've been there forever.
But the city has realized that scale does not equal strength. In a constrained, highly paved environment, these massive trees are actually incredibly fragile.
Fragile.
Yes, and they make the city's infrastructure fragile along with them.
But wait, when I look at a 25-meter tree, fragile is like the last word that comes to mind. If a storm rolls in, that trunk isn't moving. How is an 80-foot maple fragile?
You have to think about what is happening beneath the concrete.
Okay.
In a natural forest, soil is loose and highly oxygenated, right? That allows roots to grow deep and anchor the tree securely.
Sure, they dig deep into the earth.
But in a city, the soil is heavily compacted by decades of construction and traffic. There is very little oxygen or moisture down deep.
Oh, I see.
So a massive tree is forced to keep its root system incredibly shallow. You have this towering 80-foot sail catching the wind, anchored by a root system that is basically just skimming the surface.
Oh, wow. So when a heavy storm hits, the leverage from the wind is pulling on roots that barely have a grip.
Exactly. It is a structural nightmare.
That makes total sense.
And those shallow roots are desperate too. They are actively hunting for moisture and oxygen anywhere they can find it.
Like where?
Well, they sense the condensation on a cool sewage pipe, or maybe the slight dampness around a swimming pool foundation, and they wrap around it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The hydrostatic pressure of those roots expanding can crack main water lines, destroy foundations, and just completely wreck municipal plumbing.
That is wild.
And above ground, those heavy branches are tangling with the electrical grid. So a beautiful street tree suddenly becomes a multi-million-dollar liability waiting for a windstorm.
Wow. Okay, so if the city is essentially banning these giants from residential spaces to protect the infrastructure, that creates an immediate vacuum
It does, a huge one.
because you cannot just leave Montreal as an empty concrete grid. If you ban the 25-meter maple, something has to replace it.
Right, the city still needs a canopy.
And this leads us to what is basically a living laboratory for the future of urban canopies.
Yes, so the city took the former Bonnet's horse racing track and completely repurposed it.
That's such a cool use of space.
It really is. It is no longer just empty land. It has been transformed into this dense microforest serving as a nursery for the city's new generation of trees.
And the focus at this Bluebonnet nursery is entirely different from the past. Like, they are not growing future giants here.
Not at all.
They are growing smaller, robust, highly agile species. We are talking about conifers that are prepped and ready to transplant at just over 100 centimeters tall.
Yeah, very manageable sizes.
Right. They are cultivating junipers and other incredibly hardy varieties.
The selection process is purely about resilience now. A city street is a hostile environment for biology.
Oh, I bet.
It is not a forest floor. It is a landscape of radiating heat, road salt, and compacted dirt.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Montreal is globally famous for its brutal, freezing, snow-dumping winters, right?
Oh yeah, legendary winters.
But at this Bluebonnet's nursery, they aren't just worried about the cold. They're actually treating trees that have been yellowed by intense sun.
Yeah, it's wild.
They're dealing with sunburned trees. They have to give these specimens specialized, intensive care to build up their resilience to heat before they can even be sent out to a residential neighborhood.
Because the thermal dynamics of a city are absolutely punishing.
How so?
Well, when the summer sun hits a downtown sidewalk, that concrete and asphalt absorb the heat and reflect it directly back up into the canopy. It is known as the albedo effect. A tree in the city is getting baked from above by the sun and baked from below by the pavement.
That sounds miserable for a plant.
It is. So the nursery is essentially a boot camp. They are intentionally exposing these young conifers to urban heat stress, so they develop thicker cuticles on their leaves and deeper root habits before they ever see a real street.
Wow, okay, but let me challenge the core premise here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I completely understand the engineering logic of keeping giant roots out of my sewer line. I get it.
Yeah, nobody wants a broken sewer line.
Exactly. But if the ultimate environmental goal of a city's canopy is to sequester greenhouse gases, capture CO2, and physically cool the neighborhood down, can a bunch of smaller conifers and junipers really do the heavy lifting of a 25-meter giant?
It's a fair question.
Like, if we take out a massive centralized server and replace it with a bunch of distributed smart devices, do we still have the same processing power?
The distributed network analogy is actually perfect for urban ecology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, relying on one massive tree to cool an entire block is a massive vulnerability. It creates a single point of failure.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
If a parasite kills that one giant silver maple, or a storm rips it out of its shallow roots, that entire neighborhood loses 100% of its canopy, its shade, and its carbon sequestration instantly.
So a network of smaller, strategically placed trees provides a buffer against total collapse.
Exactly. The collective impact is much more stable. A dense network of sunburn-tested conifers and junipers cools the environment more evenly across the street.
And their roots don't destroy the plumbing.
Right, which means they are allowed to live longer. A living, healthy small tree does infinitely more environmental work than a massive dead tree that had to be chopped down because it threatened the power grid.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It is about sustainable yield over time.
Okay, the distributed network is definitely stronger than the individual giant. But that introduces a massive logistical nightmare.
Oh, the logistics are huge.
Right, because growing a bunch of highly resilient, sunburn-tested trees in a former raceway is just phase one.
Exactly.
A tree in a nursery doesn't cool down my sidewalk. How do you physically get thousands of homeowners to dig up their lawns and change their landscaping habits?
Well, mobilization at that scale requires removing every possible point of friction for the citizen.
Make it as easy as possible.
Exactly. And that is the driving force behind the A Tree for My Neighborhood campaign.
This campaign is a masterclass in logistics. It is run by a nonprofit organization called Severity, working directly with local eco-neighborhoods, and they have been at this since 2013.
They've got it down to a science.
They really do. The scale is staggering. They don't just hand you a generic sapling and wish you luck. They are offering 60 different species of trees to citizens.
60 is a lot of options.
Red maples, serviceberries, food trees, magnolias.
And the sheer variety is critical, though it does require precision. The research specifically notes that magnolias, for instance, are highly sensitive to wind corridors.
Which are very common between tall city buildings.
Right.
Which means you can't just plant a magnolia wherever you feel like it.
No, you have to be strategic.
But the campaign is working. They have already facilitated the planting of 34,000 trees across Montreal.
That's incredible.
And they just recently expanded the initiative to businesses and institutions. So now schools, hospitals, and churches can purchase up to 10 trees at a time to green their communal spaces.
Bringing institutions into the fold is a massive leap forward.
Why is that?
Think about a typical hospital or a large school. They usually have sprawling, underutilized paved parking lots or massive concrete plazas.
Oh, yeah. Lots of asphalt.
And those are some of the worst urban heat sinks in any city.
But giving people 60 different options seems overwhelming. Like, if you give me a catalog of 60 trees, I'm absolutely going to pick the wrong one for my yard.
Most people would.
I would definitely put the wind-sensitive magnolia in the windiest corner of my lot.
Which would be a disaster for the tree.
Right. But Severity completely bypasses that user error. They offer digital horticultural coaching.
That's the secret weapon right there.
Yeah, the Director of Communications, Jessica Ferrugia, explained that with just a few clicks, citizens are guided to the exact right species for their specific lots, soil type, and sun exposure.
It is basically a bespoke architectural consultation, but for urban ecology.
It's like a highly efficient matchmaking service, but for homeowners and saplings.
The matchmaking is brilliant logistics, but the underlying strategy is deeply biological.
How so?
By offering 60 different varieties, the city is actively preventing the catastrophic mistakes of the past. They are building a highly diverse ecosystem rather than a monoculture.
Okay, a monoculture being street after street of the exact same tree.
Exactly.
Why is that so dangerous?
Because of what happened with the ash trees.
Oh, right, you mentioned them earlier.
Yeah. When cities planted ash trees on every single street because they looked nice and uniform, they unknowingly created an all-you-can-eat buffet for the emerald ash borer.
Oh, wow.
This metallic green beetle arrived, and its larvae literally eat the inner bark of the ash tree. It cuts off the vascular system and starves the tree to death.
That is brutal.
And because every tree on the block was an ash, the beetle just hopped from yard to yard with zero resistance.
It's like a fire spreading through a dry forest with no fire breaks.
That's exactly what it is. So by actively promoting 60 different species, the A Tree for My Neighborhood campaign builds biological fire breaks into the city.
Okay.
If a parasite that only targets one species arrives in 10 years, it might kill a few trees, but the canopy as a whole survives. It is risk management through biodiversity.
So what does this all mean for the bottom line?
Well, it's not cheap.
No, achieving this level of massive scale, operating the Bluebonnets Nursery, running the digital matchmaking service, delivering 34,000 trees, that requires serious capital.
Absolutely.
We are stepping out of the community enthusiasm side of things and getting into the cold, hard math of urban forestry.
And the financial calculus is fascinating. Municipalities don't usually fund aesthetics at this scale. They are treating these trees as highly efficient municipal infrastructure.
The numbers definitely back that up.
Yeah.
The city of Montreal recently allocated over $3.5 million to Severity to support this planting effort on private and institutional lands.
That is a heavy upfront capital investment for a city budget.
It really is.
But the return on that investment is what justifies it. The data shows that Montreal's urban forest provides about $4 million in savings for public services every single year.
Wait, if they are saving $4 million a year, is that because the tree canopy is acting like a giant citywide umbrella, stopping the rain before it hits the sewers?
That is a massive part of it. It falls under the umbrella of ecosystem services. When a heavy storm hits a paved city, the rain instantly hits the concrete, picks up surface pollutants, and rushes directly into the storm drains.
Which usually causes problems.
Big problems. It frequently overwhelms the water treatment plants, but a diverse tree canopy intercepts that rain.
Oh, I see.
The leaves literally shatter the water droplets, slowing their momentum. The deep, healthy roots of these agile trees act like sponges in the soil.
So it absorbs it before it even hits the system.
Yes. They drastically reduce stormwater runoff, saving the city millions in water treatment and preventing flooded infrastructure.
And I imagine the shade also impacts the energy grid during the summer.
Oh, incredibly so.
Right.
through a process called evapotranspiration.
Evapotranspiration.
Trees don't just block the sun, they actively sweat water vapor from their leaves, pulling heat out of the surrounding air to evaporate the water. Yeah, it is literal outdoor air conditioning. That drops the ambient temperature of a neighborhood, which drastically reduces the strain on the city's electrical grid because fewer people are cranking their air conditioning to the maximum.
That is amazing.
Mm.
But here is the catch that completely blew my mind while reading this.
There's always a catch.
We talked about the $3.5 million budget from the city. But to actually realize those savings, it requires a staggering amount of sweat equity from the citizens.
This is the hard part.
According to the data, a young tree requires 40 liters of water per day during its first 2 years to survive.
40 liters! Let that sink in.
That is roughly 10 gallons of water every single day for 2 years.
It's a huge commitment.
Adopting one of these young trees is not like buying a lawn ornament. It is like bringing home an incredibly thirsty, high-maintenance pet.
This raises an important question about the social contract of urban greening.
How so?
The municipality can provide the initial capital. They can grow the trees and deliver them. But that $3.5 million budget is instantly vaporized if the citizens do not put in the manual labor of hauling 40 liters of water a day.
Because the tree just dies.
Exactly. The survival of the city's infrastructure relies entirely on the daily habits of the homeowner.
If you get lazy, or you go on vacation during a heat wave and miss a few days of watering, that tree dies.
Yep.
And with it, the city's investment, the stormwater absorption, and your neighborhood's future shade just evaporates.
Yeah.
It is a massive physical commitment.
The partnership is non-negotiable. And that brings us to the ultimate overarching goal of this entire transformation.
Right, because it's not just about money.
No. Yes, saving money on water treatment is great, and protecting the electrical grid from giant falling branches is crucial. But the core reason this massive logistical effort exists is about human protection.
Yeah, the social equity and public health aspect of this is the real headline. The research highlights that greening is a primary weapon against urban heat islands.
It's essential.
And this is vital, because historically, lower-income neighborhoods have had significantly sparser canopy cover compared to affluent areas.
The environmental justice component is stark.
It really is.
In a neighborhood dominated by concrete and lacking a mature canopy, the pavement absorbs the summer sun all day and radiates it back out all night.
So it never really cools down.
Never. During a severe heat wave, a treeless neighborhood can be several degrees hotter than a leafy, affluent suburb just a few miles away.
That's a huge difference in a heat wave.
And that trapped heat isn't just uncomfortable, it is physiologically dangerous.
So Montreal is aiming to increase its total canopy cover to between 26 and 30% in the coming years.
Which is an ambitious goal.
Very. And they aren't doing that for a tourism brochure. This directly improves public health. We tend to view trees as purely decorative, you know.
Yeah, most people do.
You walk down a leafy street and think, oh, what a charming neighborhood. But for someone living in a densely packed, concrete-heavy area during a brutal July heat wave, a healthy tree isn't a decoration.
No, it's not.
It is literal healthcare infrastructure. It reduces heat stroke, lowers cardiovascular stress, and improves mental well-being.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire narrative of this deep dive snaps into focus.
Absolutely.
The aggressive shift away from the massive, fragile giants toward an agile, sunburn-tested, distributed canopy is a masterclass in climate adaptation.
They are really preparing for the future.
Montreal realizes that the future holds hotter summers, more intense storms, and unpredictable ecological threats. Strategically selecting the right species, avoiding monocultures, and relying on citizens to water those trees daily is an act of collective urban resilience.
It completely reframes how you look at a city.
It really does.
The future of Montreal, and really any modern city facing climate reality, is not going to be built on vanity. We cannot rely on those vulnerable 80-foot giants that threaten to rip up the plumbing and take down the power grid every time the wind blows.
We just don't have the space or the luxury anymore.
Right. The future is going to be built on a diverse, engineered, and deeply sustainable forest that requires every single one of us to pick up a bucket and pitch in.
Next time you walk down your own street, I want you to take a close look at the trees lining the sidewalks. Look at the root systems. Look at the variety of the leaves.
That's a great point.
Are they relics of a bygone era? You know, fragile giants just waiting for a heavy storm to expose their vulnerabilities? Or are they the first agile recruits of your city's unseen survival strategy? You might never look at a neighborhood tree the exact same way again.
I certainly won't be able to unsee it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you. Keep looking closely at the details hidden in plain sight. We will catch you on the next one.